So we have learned how to multiply and divide rational expressions, and today we're going to learn how to add and subtract rational expressions. So let's start if they have like denominators. So you probably remember from adding and subtracting fractions that like denominators, it's pretty easy, right? So if you have like denominators, what you would do is you would keep the denominator. So let's go back to just a regular fraction, 1/2 plus 3/2. Right? I just keep the same denominator, so the same is true here. So my denominator would be x plus 3. Okay, and then the numerator, what I would do, just here, like I add the numerator, 1 plus 3 is 4. So then I just add these. So I have 3x plus 2x is 5x. And then I have negative 4 plus 5 is plus 1. Now, if anything can be simplified, just like 4 over 2 could turn into 2, I would simplify it, but I look, and remember you can't just take x's out of binomials. So you have to look, and it has to be matching binomials to take them out, and those don't match, and there's no greatest common factor I can get rid of. So my final answer is 5x plus 1 and x plus 3 over x plus 3. Alright, so pretty easy. So let's go down to subtracting. So if I'm going to subtract, again, I carry across the same denominator just like on the top, so x squared minus 2. Then in the numerator, I take 2x minus 1 and I subtract 4x plus 4. So this is really important because you need to remember that this minus sign goes to both. And here's a common thing that happens is people take 2x minus 4x and get negative 2x, but then they take negative 1 positive 4 and they tell me it's plus 3. Okay, but remember it's actually negative 1 minus 4, which is actually going to be a negative 5. Okay, so again, be careful with that. You need to, if it helps you to change the signs and change this to adding the opposite, you can do that. Whatever works the best for you. So it kind of goes back to when you are adding and subtracting polynomials, it's like that. So you just you keep the denominator exactly the same, and then you subtract the two numerators. Okay, so pretty easy. Here would be your final answer. You check if anything can be simplified, but x squared minus 2, that can't be simplified anymore, and so nothing else can be canceled out. So that's your final answer. Alright, so like denominators is pretty easy. However, when you have unlike denominators, you need to find a common denominator. So in order to find a common denominator, you need to find the least common multiple of the denominator. So this is going to look kind of crazy because you have one denominator. So here's our first denominator. Our first denominator is 2x cubed y to the 4th, and the other denominator would be 3x to the 5th y to the 3rd. Okay, so right now we're not even talking about numerators. I'm just having you figure out if those were your denominators, how would you find the least common denominator? In other words, what's the least common multiple of these? Okay, so let's just look at 2 and 3 for a second. So just 2 and 3, if I needed to find the least common multiple of 2 and 3, well, that's 6. Okay, so I have 2 and 3 together, I would end up getting 6. So I don't know where that came from. Sorry about that. So I would have 2, and I would have 3, so that makes 6. Alright, now, on here I look and I have y to the 4th and I have y to the 3rd. So again, it's the least common multiple. So y to the 4th and y to the 3rd, the one I have to use is actually the bigger one. Okay, so I would have to use y to the 4th, so I will put y to the 4th here. And then x, I have x to the 3rd and x to the 5th, so I actually have to use the bigger one because I'm looking for the least common multiple, not the greatest common factor. So for the least common multiple, I have to actually take the highest one. So if I take the least common multiple of 2 and 3 is 6, and the least common multiple of x cubed and x to the 5th is actually x to the 5th, and of y to the 4th and y to the 3rd is actually y to the 4th. So basically you're finding something that both of these could divide into. So this can divide into that, and it can divide into that. Alright, so let's try it if it looks a little bit different. So what if you have two trinomials? So of course, in order to find the least common denominator, or in this case the least common multiple, you're going to have to factor both of them out. So if I factor both of these out here, I have x plus 4 and x minus 1. and then I have x minus 2 and x minus 1. So if I need the least common multiple, I need to take each time something occurs. So I have x plus 4 right here. I have x minus 1, and I write it here. And then I have x minus 2, and I write it here. But I don't need this one because it's already there. So I have to take like each time something occurs. Alright, so let's try this on your own. Okay, so go ahead and try to pause the video here and actually try to solve these, and then come back and see if you did it correctly. Alright, I hope you paused. Welcome back. So if I look at this, the least common multiple of 4 and 3 is going to be 12. Okay, but if I have x to the third and x to the fifth, remember I need to take the bigger one, so x to the fifth. And if I have y to the seventh and y to the fourth, it would be y to the seventh. So there is the least common multiple of those two numbers. Alright, pause again to solve this one. And we're back. I hope you paused. Okay, so I need to factor this first. Alright, then I'm going to factor this one. Okay, so when I'm trying to find the least common multiple, I'm going to take x plus 2, x minus 2. I already took x plus 2 here, so I don't need to take it again, and x plus 3. So that is the least common multiple of these two numbers. Okay, so what we're going to do in class is we're going to learn how to add and subtract rational numbers, and in order to do that, you'll have to find a least common denominator, and the way you find the least common denominator is just like this, of finding the least common multiple. Alright?